Hello, hello. This is the Digital Loop, Season 3, Episode 8. Hi, Ivan. How are you?
Hey Paul, great to see you again. It's been a little bit of longer than expected break between the last show and next one, but there's a big reason why. Because Paul, last week he took part in the Mobile World Congress. That's the name, Mobile Congress
Right.
World.
Yeah, that's Mobile Congress. It's this huge conference that happens in Barcelona, in Spain. It's been going on for a while. I think, but I'm not sure. I think it's about 90,000 people, so almost like 100,000 people there. It's like this
Wow.
huge, huge thing. So the main part, of course, is the Mobile World Congress. It's conference about mobile, as the term says it. For those who don't know, like you have this big trade fair where you have all the big brands from Samsung to Ericsson, even names, even Nokia was there. I mean, all the big names. Plus, you have a second show that I'll talk a little bit later about, which is dedicated to startups and innovation, which happens in a separate building, which used to be, by the way, the old building for Mobile Congress. So Mobile Congress first, big thing. Mark Zuckerberg did a keynote. I mean, it was more like an interview, but you see, so this is really like a huge conference. It actually reminds me of the conferences that are happening in the end of the 90s, where was called World Telecom. It was organized by the ITU, and the reason I say that is that I can feel that we went, and maybe you'll agree with me, Ivan, we went for, you can see the state of the industry. There was a world of telcos, so mostly the old traditional telcos, with regulators. That was the ITU World Telecom. We moved to a world of telcos, so basically telcos doing a lot of mobile. That's Mobile World Congress. But when you go there, you realize that actually now the stuff that matters is that's the reason they have Mark Zuckerberg on stage. The stuff that matters is not really made at Mobile Congress anymore. I mean, no offense to the organizers, GSMA, or to the operators. We can feel that all the talk is about what WhatsApp is doing, what Snapchat is doing, what basically all the tools that we're using that are built on top of this mobile ecosystem. And this is, and you know what? They're not there. I mean, you might have Mark Zuckerberg, the Facebook founder there, but there's not a booth about Snapchat. There's not a booth about any of these hot companies we talk about. Not even Facebook. They don't need to be there. So for me, that's a kind of a hint that the industry has been always moving. But this is like, okay, this is really important to make networking. This is really important to see products. But then again, I mean, is there any phone that really, even though you weren't there, is there anything new that really, in terms of hardware, that you're like, oh, this is so exciting? Ivan, is there something you really?
Well, I mean, but the following week, the Apple Watch came out. But talking about the phone, no, I mean, all the phones it's funny. I mean, if you think about it now, all the phones they have become like, now the new Samsung is out. Meh. Even the iPhone, it was a big event when the new iPhone came out. People will go crazy. The last iPhone 6 came out. The iPhone 6 Plus came out, and yes, I watched the keynote and I was excited. But it's becoming normal, right?
Yeah, it's exactly so. I was in Barcelona with Alex Hunter, whom we had on the show as a guest. So we worked together, and we went. It was his first time, so we went like just around. So the main show, the Mobile World Congress, we went just looking at all the phones. It was packed, obviously, which is a bit almost too much. But at the end of the day, after I've been walked for like 6 hours in all these halls, we were like, I asked him, I said, so what stood out for you? He looks at me and like it was almost like nothing stood out because all the phones are rectangles. I mean, again, it's also we are clearly being spoiled here because
Mm-hmm.
it means that all the phones have gone up to such a good quality that now you see Chinese manufacturers coming up with amazing phones in terms of build quality. They also look very good in terms of UI, though I've not tested them all because they all use Android. And that's the other thing, by the way. So most of the phones you say use obviously Android. There's a little bit of Windows. This is my client, which is canonical, so Ubuntu. So we launched Ubuntu Mobiles. It's a different value proposition, and I join you to try it once. But the rest, and I not say that negatively again, the rest is all basically Android, which makes it very hard to differentiate. Because you take one phone that looks like the other, and you're like, well, it's the same thing, basically, right? So that's one thing. The second thing, and you mentioned Apple Watch, and we'll talk a little bit about the Apple Watch a bit later, but Apple was not present there. So that's another thing. There was everybody was basically talking about the upcoming Apple Watch, so smartwatches, but the big one was not even there. So that's another sign that maybe, I don't know. Talking about which, there were a lot of last year, and you can see that you and me when we do this show, since the show has been recorded according to whatever news is going on, we talked a lot about wearables last year.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk a bit about wearables this year, but less so, right? Because at one point wearables, even though some have a very nice design, they kind of all do the same, right? And the next step was the smartwatch. So you could see that also as well being there is that last year there was a lot of wearables, and this year the emphasis was the smartwatches. You have LG, all the brands had a smartwatch. Again, clearly thinking in everybody's mind was like, okay, let's see what the Apple Watch will be. But they were nice. I mean, honestly, the quality, the design, you could see they were trying to go upscale because, of course, maybe because they knew that Apple would go upscale and with a more or less luxury product. But again, and it's not a negative by itself, but they all have the exact, and this time it's the exact same UI because it's Android. At least on the phone, Samsung, for instance, tries to do some stuff on it, and LG does. They add some stuff, which is not always, by the way, a win. Sometimes it's actually very difficult to use, but at least there's some difference. On the phone, it's the exact. So every phone, every watch I would take, I was like, okay, so it's round and there's the same feel. So it's like it's bizarre. It's like the market is being commoditized.
Yeah.
So would you go ahead?
I guess like kind of buying a PC. Do you see the difference between a
Exactly.
Dell and HP or a I don't know, Lenovo? They have the same operating system, and it's the box is a little bit different, the logo is a little bit different, but the way it works, it's exactly the same. So that's what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah, you have the perfect comparison, and this is exactly that's actually perfect because it shows that the industry moved to a differentiator to like something that is more close to each other. And that's exactly like you exactly said, exactly what happened to the PC world. Now you buy a PC, you know that some brands have a better build than others, but besides that, you look, and this is why, by the way, at the end, if you look at how the brands are talking without, besides the marketing and the lifestyle and making it, these huge campaigns, whether it's Sony, whether it's Samsung, they'll say, okay, the processor on this phone and the RAM on this phone and whatever, because this is the only way to differentiate. Is to say, because at least for my phone is faster than yours, which you remember it was a case for PCs for a very long time. It was I got this RAM and I got this new Intel chip, and that was the way to differentiate to each other. So yeah, you're absolutely right. The one thing though I would say that was interesting in that same kind of feel is to see all the small unknown Chinese manufacturer, because we talked about you and me here, Xiaomi. So the company I work with, Ubuntu, they work with Meizu, which is another Chinese manufacturer. They kind of upscale both of those names, for instance, meaning that they are already, the build quality is higher, though for a price is more mid-range. And that's what the Chinese do very well. But the interesting thing is, you walk, you have these big stands, and then you walk a little bit in the back alleys, and you have all the tiny Chinese manufacturers that you have no idea who they are. Most of them are building for volume. So you go and you make an order of 100,000 and you put whatever name you want on it. But we found like with Alex, we found like a 3G, 4G phones were for 40 that retails for $49. I mean, this is the perfect commoditization, because if it's $49, maybe it's not. Of course, it's not the build. It's not as qualitative as Samsung yet, but it goes there. At some point, we'll get exactly, your example is perfect. PCs nowadays, you go to any MediaMarkt or Walmart, whatever your shop, and you'll find great PCs that work very well for very cheap.
Yeah.
So yeah, right. So maybe now,
Interesting.
luxury. Will you buy the Apple Watch? Would you buy it? Not if you will, but would you?
Well, consider I'm an Apple fanboy, and that my wife makes a joke that at home we have a iPod, and we have an iPhone, and we have the iPad, and the iMac, and an iVan. Uh, probably, most probably I will. I don't think I will go for the $10,000 golden watch.
Yeah, right.
Uh, but maybe not this week. But yeah, I mean, you know me. I think that the beauty of Apple is the fact that they have managed to create this sense of connection with the brand that and the products are fantastic. So I love my iPhone. I love playing with it. I love using it. I love the interface. I love what I do with it, what I'm able to do with it, and I'm connected with the brand. So I can see the same happening with the watch. Will I be the first in line and run around with it? Most probably not. But yeah, I mean, probably yes. I will end up getting the Apple Watch.
Yeah, I have the same. I'm not sure. So for those who watch the show on YouTube, you see I have a different watch every week, and don't worry, I don't have like 1,000 watches. Maybe that's some of the fact that I was born and raised in Switzerland, but I don't have that many. But for me, a watch is, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, when I look at it, I want it. The thing is, first of all, let's not talk about me. Let's talk about in general. I think the you know, we are in a society with all of us are looking down at our phones all the time, right? And this will be probably a transition if with it because we'll start stopping looking less at our phone and looking more at our watch because you can transition most of the notifications that you get on your phone to your watch, and this is let a bit less, you know, you don't see it happening as much because when I really take the phone in front of me, it's like telling you, Ivan, you know what? You're boring. I just want to look at my phone. With the watch, you can do that in a more like slightly less, the people you just put a glance on it to say, oh, there's a notification, but I don't need to address it right now. You didn't have to take the phone out of your pocket, so that could be that's one of the appeal, I guess, for the Apple Watch. The reason I'm not sure I'm going to buy is that actually I don't have almost no notifications on my phone. I
Mm,
removed almost everything because that's the point. I want to be able to work and focus, same on my computer, same on my tablet. I don't want to have like, oh, new email, new email, new email, new email, because otherwise it'll never work, like new Facebook Messenger starting or whatever. So this is where, for me, it's going to be a glorified watch. I'm not even sure, but of course, like you said, the power of the brand, and I'm going to admit it, I love my Apple products as well. And I'm very curious. Honestly, I'm very curious. We had a discussion. I think remember we had Dean Johnson talking about
yeah.
these stuff, and I think one of the cases that I would love to have a watch like this is just like having small notifications for my mapping. So when I'm walking and I don't need to look at the map, it's just right there. It tells me like one buzz to go right and two buzzes to go left. I don't know. It could be the number of buzzes, doesn't matter. But you see, having these kind of slight reminders that come on my wrist could be interesting. But do you really want, Ivan? Do you really want your watch to ring when your phone rings? I mean, do you that?
I mean, I have the Pebble. I have the Pebble, and probably it was more kind of like me.
Are you using it? Are you using it all the time?
Not anymore. I use it every once in a while, but I stopped using it because I mentioned it during the conversation with what we did, that in order to have the value of the Pebble, the connectivity between the watch and the phone, you need to have the phone all the time on linked with your watch. And as we know, the iPhone is not, it's far from ideal. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had all day connected my phone together with my watch. The battery life of my phone, it would just go down dramatically. So then I will disconnect the connection between my phone and my watch, and then what's the point? I mean, it's just a watch. So I stopped wearing it, and I think it's like, it's a gadget, and at this point, I gotta say it was nice every once in a while. It's a nice surprise when we're talking, all of a sudden you see something, you see it like, oh, you got an SMS, and that's it. Instead of as you say, the
Yeah.
motion of getting the phone and looking over there and stop having contact with the person in front. I think it's a nice thing. Would you pay $500 just to be able to do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, it's an interesting gadget, and like I say, probably I'm curious. Probably I will, knowing myself, I probably will end up getting it. But I don't think that it's going to be, right away, and I'm gonna be, crazy about it. I'm very curious to see how it works because, as a new launch for the company, I'm very curious about the new Mac.
Oh
With
yeah.
only one port. I was like, are you kidding me? Like I see so many, I'm reading so many articles, some against, some pro these new no more ports in the computer. I don't know. At this point in time, I think this is ridiculous. Like I'd rather buy an older Mac Air with couple ports than a brand new MacBook with only one slot.
Okay, we're going on a tangent here, but I agree to a certain extent. But at the same time, Apple has been known to do that, where they first remove the floppy disk, they remove, they kept removing stuff from. Maybe they went a bridge too far. I don't know. I mean, it's true that. Like, oh, that's USB-C, and I have all my, Lightning ports there, and Thunderbolt ports, and now I have to rebuy like a new adapters. I was like, oh, damn it! But I don't think it depends. I mean, they're not completely stupid either. It depends on who they're targeting. I'm sure they will sell a lot of those. It's not their primary market. They do most of their money on iPhones and a little bit less on iPads, but. I'm sure they will find a market for that. It's not, a lot of people do not need a lot of ports. And actually, if I look at the use of my MacBook Air, I mean, most of the time it's charging, and I have probably a projector to it. But the rest of the time, there's nothing. I'm almost never using USB keys anymore because there's sort of the little portable things, the USB drive, anymore, because I mean, I have most of the things on Dropbox, and I can send that a link to Dropbox to someone else. I don't know. So I'm not saying they're crazy, but it looks clearly appealing. But it's a way of technology. We're going smaller, faster, etc. So will I buy one? I don't know.
Yeah. Then the next model is going to be without a screen.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, interestingly, and I mentioned that in another podcast I do about aviation. There was a. So Virgin Atlantic has done trials in London Heathrow, trying, for the staff. So imagine you are boarding a plane, or you're communicating with someone on the staff and the ground staff at an airport. And so they tried to have information that would be displayed for the staff. So for the version, not for you as a passenger. They would try on a tablet, on a phone, on a smartwatch, and on Google Glass. And the result was that Google Glass, interestingly, because the product is not killed but being rethought, Google Glass is actually the one that is the most accepted, because it's the thing I said about being boring. You don't have to stop looking at the other person. So Ivan, you're asking me, can you tell me what is the new gate for my flight? And I can do that while keeping an eye contact with you. So the interesting, and I think this is why Apple, I don't know, they don't do any things for eyes yet. I don't know, maybe they will. It's that Apple, the reason I think they were always very successful is they were able to keep a humane level on the way, the UI, etc. So maybe, and the Apple Watch might be something that will go there. I don't know, but that's an interesting part of how do we actually communicate, because maybe are the last 5 years of you and me putting our phones always out of our pockets, is that something that was temporary? It was something new, so we got addicted to that, or is that something that will last forever, and we will need new kinds of technologies to help us keep that eye contact? Honestly, I don't know.
That's the question. All right, and I guess we, as Jeremy Clarkson will say, and in that bombshell, I guess we can.
Well, you know that Jeremy Clarkson was just suspended from the show, so I don't know if you want to be suspended from here. And I'm not certainly not going to punch you. I mean, I'm sad he's been suspended, and I hope he comes back because Top Gear is one of my favorite shows. I just want to mention one thing. I know we're reaching 20 minutes, but I just wanted to mention that the other parts, and this is something that you guys wanting to once come to Barcelona. The second part of the show, 4 years from now, so it's another event in a different building. It's for innovation and startups. It's pretty well made. It doubled in size. It doubled in size in 1 year. So compared to last year, it was double the size. It's very well done as a startup event. I think it's something you guys should look into if you want to come. I know a lot of the startup people, entrepreneurs, VCs, they just come for that event. They just don't even go to the other ones. So I just want to mention that because I think it's pretty interesting. It used to be very Spanish focused, less and less now. It's very international. So I think it's it's a subject that both here, Ivan and myself, we also involved in. Like to talk about. So it's something maybe Ivan, you'll come one day to see it because it's
yeah, definitely.
So you can restate the bombshell now. Okay,
and in that bombshell, this is it for this week. And next week, probably we're gonna be recording next week, and then in 2 weeks, both of us we're gonna be here in Warsaw. Paul is coming to Warsaw for the Digital Marketing Innovation Conference, which I will be the keynote speaker there as well. So we're gonna be together in Warsaw, and actually the next day I'm flying to London. Paul is gonna be flying back to London as well. So probably we're gonna hang out for the whole week again between Warsaw and London. So who knows? Maybe we might be able to record from London or from Warsaw.
Again, exactly. We'll see. Exactly. On that, bye, Ivan.
Have a great week.
Yeah,
bye,
guys.